Apologies for the clickbait thumbnail, but hopefully it's brought you here, and as a little reward, here are the glamour shots at the start of the video rather than the end. I'm new to the whole YouTube thing, so I'm trying to work out what attracts people and what keeps people watching. Hopefully you're going to stick around and see how I made this completely out of clay and pastels. That's it, the only two ingredients: polymer clay and pastels. Stick around, watch the process. So this template is just so that I know what the boundaries are for what I'm building. Make sure it'll fit in the display box. So yeah, for the wood, I just basically took a combination of clay, smooshed it together, and then wound it through the pasta machine. I like the gimmick of the pasta machine. You can roll it out by hand, does just as well. There's the template that I bought online, and I'm now brushing it with some pastels just for some variation to colour. And it also stops these little mould things from sticking to the clay, working in some little knots and stuff to make it look a little bit more like wood. And then, there you go, chopping it up into planks. Satisfying. And there you go, polymer clay and pastels to make some fairly convincing wooden planks. I'm going to line them up like this, and then I'm going to take some super glue. I'm going to stick it on the back of these bits, and that's what I'm going to use to connect all of those bottom planks together. World class sound editing there, wasn't it? Amazing. Like they were really getting hammered in. But what is kind of amazing is that barricade. I'm proud of it. I'm chuffed with it. I think this has turned out brilliant, you know. I'm going to glue the barricade onto this black card, which works, one, as a template, and two, as a backing that I can attach bits later. Now it's onto the floor, which is going to be a red carpet, for reasons that will become obvious later. Oh, no. That's not quite it. Try again. That's much better. Magic. There we go, some more pastels on there again, just for different floor colouring, give it a bit of depth, give it a bit of gradient. I don't know what the artistic term is. Or I want it to look mucky. Probably. Yeah. Anyway, get ready for what I thought was going to be a really clever reveal before I lost half the footage and completely had to re-edit this. But up until now, you weren't actually meant to know what I was building, and here was the reveal. Genuinely thought I was shit hot for coming up with that. Anyway, I'm going to stick zombies in these holes. I sometimes find it easier to make the face on a flat surface rather than trying to make the whole head. So that's what I'm doing here. Making the face of the zombie. That's a skull kind of thing. I don't know. What goes under the face, I suppose. I'll stick the teeth in, the eyes. Focus, you idiot. That's better. Good man. This tiny little eyeball being stuck into a tiny little eyeball socket, eye hole. This is arguably one of the most iconic of the Dawn of the Dead zombies. The poster boy, at least, which surely gives him sort of top billing, recognisable. While I'm sculpting away here, I give you a little idea, what had me thinking about Dawn of the Dead as a cartoon. Now, when I was growing up, there were a lot of really weird franchises that spun out into kids' cartoons. And the weirdest thing was, by the time I was watching the kids' cartoon, I'd already seen the 18 movie. You know, RoboCop's a brilliant example.
Officer Alex J. Murphy and his partner Ann Lewis fight to rid the decaying city of the criminal element which infests it, after being mortally wounded in the line of duty.
I'd seen this. 6 or 7 year old me had seen this long before I watched the cartoon. I was excited when the cartoon came out.
RoboCop.
So yeah, cartoons like that based on violent science fiction had me always thinking, what else would I love to have seen get that treatment? And Dawn of the Dead, I wanted to know more about. Spoiler alert for a 48-year-old movie here, but what happens to Fran and Peter at the end of the movie? The cartoon could have explored that, and I would have loved it. Here I am trying, look, there's the head, making sure he will fit quite nicely in that hole. But now he also needs a body. He needs his flannel shirt for the flannel shirt zombie. That was basically just a sausage of clay. Little roll it, the little things to do for the pattern. There's a hand, I'm smooshing in a hand. I quite enjoy, I hate hands, but I kind of did hands in a slightly different way here. Look, just sticking little sausages on there, and it's not too bad actually. It's pretty basic. Yeah, it's very basic, but that's all I was looking for anyway. I wasn't looking for hyper detail. This is, after all, meant to be based on a cartoon rather than live action. More flannel there for his little flannel shirt so he doesn't get the cold and catches death. Anyway, there he is, poking at the hole there. Get his arm, stick his arm on. So he's reaching out like, ooh, I'm a zombie and I'm going to grab you, bite you, turn you into another zombie. There's his collar, because he's wearing a shirt. A shirt needs a collar, otherwise it's, I don't know what it is, a long-sleeved t-shirt, maybe? I don't know.
Rambo.
Who didn't love recreating John Rambo's immense trauma and PTSD from his time serving in Vietnam when you were a child with his action figures? Anyway, it's on to people now. And this, I'm going to start off with an armature. It is armature, isn't it? I always get it wrong, and I feel a bit stupid for getting it wrong. I should really Google it. In fact, hang on. It is armature. So, there we go. Now I know the name of the thing that I hate, because I hate armature wire. I hate making the little wire people and putting the clay on top. I usually just work with clay. I don't want to sound wanky, but the armature wire is not part of my usual process. I like to make a sketch out of clay, a basic framework, a body shape out of clay, and build up on top of it. The wire, pointless. I don't like it. I find it restricting more than anything else. The reason I do it, because I see other videos, craft video, anybody doing things out of clay, they've got the wire thing. So I thought, it's part of what everybody else does. I don't know if I don't want to do what everybody else does. Why would I do that? I want to do different. I just want to do what I'm doing. I'm trying to build some kind of audience. I'm trying to get people viewing and things. That's why I did the old clickbait shite at the start, because I'm trying to build this, and I don't know if I can do that doing what other people do. So I should just do my own thing, and hopefully, maybe, it's something that people enjoy watching and maybe listening to my ramblings while this is going on. But speaking of the people who enjoy my ramblings, it's time for a little commento shout out. Huge thanks to Polly, to Nostalgia Flip and Fix, to Polythene Pam, to Vic Mev, to Dan Does, to Neil HMS, to Terrain by Aaron, to Kev Maid, to Pahuta, and to Kev Purdy. I am not calling you King Kev. Thanks very much for commenting, interacting. I love it, I appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, I would really appreciate it if you would take the time, go and have a look at the back catalogue. The Trapdoor video in particular is quite popular. Please subscribe to the channel, like this video, comment down below. I respond to all comments, get a wee shout out in the next video as well. Interact with me, that's what I'm looking for. But most of all, enjoy. So on with the build, still working on this first character who will be revealed in a short time, I would imagine, if you know the movie Dawn of the Dead. If you don't, you've got no clue what you're looking at here. But could be Michael Myers for all you know. It's just a blue jumpsuit. But yeah, working on the arms here, blending in on top of the armature that I hate. I find them kind of restricting. It's kind of, it dictates, there we go, this is what it's going to be. I suppose it could change, I could chop the wire off and stuff, but who needs that hassle in their life? Using this little silicone tool, little bits of details, creasing into the arm and making it a little bit more fabric. And so there we go, I've got a left arm there, might as well put a right one on as well, which is just exactly the same process. There it is. So I'm sure some of you noticed at the start that this was called Dawn of the Zombies, not Dawn of the Dead, even though it's based on Dawn of the Dead. And that's for quite a simple reason. When I like to think of things, you know, like this, that it could have been a real thing, I set the same boundaries that the real thing would have had, you know. And in reality, there would never, ever have been a kid's cartoon called Dawn of the Dead or any dead. I'm making this up so I can just do whatever I want, but I like to have some kind of, like, it could be a real thing, and there's no way that a kid's cartoon was going to have the word dead in the title. It doesn't matter if it was the Wild West of the 80s kids TV, you were never getting dead in the title. So it was if it was a real thing, it would have been called Dawn of the Zombies, or it wouldn't have been called Dawn of the Dead, so that's why I called it Dawn of the Zombies, because I like to think in my head this could be, if it was a real thing, not just here's something I've made up and I can go absolutely mental with it and do what I want. And yeah, so yeah, that's why it's not called Dawn of the Dead, it's called Dawn of the Zombies, because a cartoon based on Dawn of the Dead would be called Dawn of the Zombies. Anyway, enough of Peter's body, it's time to start moving on to the face. Here we go, sticking a few little dents in there, and I'm going to put low eyeballs into the low eyeball sockets. Just gently does it. Whoop. There we go. Yeah. 2 eyes. Better than one. Little pupils. There we go. Tiny little globs of clay. I try whenever I can to use my hands as much rather than relying on tools and things like that. I know I've used different kind of moulds and different things for creating textures and stuff, but there we go, look, there's a silicone tool. So I'm saying I don't like to use tools. There's a little ball stylus. I don't like to use tools. You know, they're a necessary thing, but whenever possible I like to try and have my hands involved. I like it to, I kind of like when it's got the little fingerprints, it's got your little thumbprints and stuff like that. I know a lot of people, when they're making things out of polymer clay, will smooth it over with nail polish remover, minerals. I can't remember exactly what it is they use, but I like it to have that sort of, like, I don't want it to look manufactured, I don't want it to look 3D printed, I don't want it to look, for want of a better word, perfect. This could have looked a lot better. I'm not, you know, I'm like sort of 70-30 satisfied with how it turned out, but I like to do all these little things. Here we go, I'm working on the hair now, working on the collar, finishing, we're getting into the detailed section now. It's starting to take shape, and the shape it's taking is not one I'm necessarily happy with, but I just keep chapping on. Which is the other thing, when I'm making these, I kind of commit making these videos. So whereas before I could have got to a point in a project like I did with this one that I go, sack it, I've had enough, but I don't. I stick with it and I'm pushing through to the end, which interestingly enough means I'm getting results that I'm like, it's not great. And this is just such results. I feel like I could have done Peter so much, could have done them all so much more justice than what I did. There's a little walkie-talkie. I've got now, stick a little walkie-talkie on the belt so they can keep in communication, sticking a little globe of clay on the back, and then I'm attaching on this gun. That had been previously baked, so it's nice and solid. The strap isn't, it's still soft clay. It needs to be soft so that when I build this little hand here, as you can see, the little sausages that are sticking my fingers, put these little fingers on, there we go, making a little hand, by hand, again, whenever possible, whenever I like the tactileness of using your fingers and your hands to create something. So there it is, and then bring the strap over, put the strap in the hand, wrap the hand round the strap so he's got a nice tight hold on it. Like the gun's baked, because if it wasn't, it'd be flopping all over the place right now. So I filmed making all the zombies for the background, I filmed making all the characters, and somehow, because I'm a bit of an idiot and because I'm only working off of my phone, I went onto my video editor and found, lo and behold, the footage was gone, deleted somehow, stupidly. So what a way to jump ahead. The background is pretty much done. The characters have all been done. There is no proof of me making it. It doesn't exist. I destroyed it. Look, here we go. This is the best you're getting as I zoom in on the zombies in the background. There you go. The arse fell at top. Yeah. So now I'm just wanting to add a few more details and things. The background, another thing that I found once everything was put together, and you'll see it yourself, once it all went together, it's a bit too busy. And I kind of pulled myself back because I had a lot more. I had ideas for bits of zombies and more weapons and all kinds of stuff. There's so much going on. All the zombies you can see in the background there are kind of lost once the four main characters are in the foreground. You don't, but they're there and they're cool. And ultimately, I had to add the main characters eventually. So let's get on with that, shall we? First of all, the hero, in my mind, Peter Washington.
There's no more room in hell.
He is the drama. He is quite extra a lot of times in the movie. Very serious.
Roger! Come on, man! Get your head together! We got a lot of work to do!
Roger DeMarco, Peter's right-hand man throughout most of the movie. There's a little lighter, because he needs lighter fluid. Francine Parker there, who's sick of the guy's shit.
Damn motherfucking sons of bitches!
Fran is an absolute badass, which is why I'm so disappointed, because her figure's shite. I'm not happy with it. And this leads us to the worst character, but the one who I think turned out the best. Bloody Steve Andrews.
That's me. I'm Steve Andrews.
Yeah, no shit.
Yeah, Flyboy sucks. He's just awful throughout the whole movie. He's a bit of an arsehole. But there they are. That's it. The four main characters in their glory. So it's time to start adding them to the little diorama, which I've got there. There we go. Let's say this bit I loved. I was so happy with how the background turned out. I almost feel like I ruined it slightly by adding the main characters, because I just wasn't quite happy with how each of them turned out. Simple, little bit of super glue, splatted, holds them in place. I toyed with the idea of having them removable, putting little magnets in their feet. Focus, focus. There we go. Putting little magnets in their feet, because then I could have a zombie Roger, spoiler for a near 50-year-old movie, a zombie Flyboy, another spoiler for a near 50-year-old movie. But by this point, I was just, I'd lost, yeah, I'd kind of lost the will. I just wanted it to be over, and over it finally is. There we go. So thanks very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if you keep watching them, I'll keep making them, and if I keep making them, hopefully you'll keep watching them. Go on, do the thing, give it a little thumbs up and like this video, comment down below, interact, subscribe to the channel. There will be more to come. Big Bot Bash probably coming up next. Thanks. Ciao ciao.